You're sitting in traffic on a Tuesday afternoon, and the car in front of you is a brand new BMW X5 with the dealer plates still on it. The driver looks like he's about 32 years old, wearing a Carhartt jacket, eating a gas station hot dog, and your brain does that thing it always does. It tries to solve the math. How does that guy afford that car? Because that car is $90,000. That hot dog is 90 cents. Something doesn't add up. Here's the secret. He probably can't afford it. He just signed a piece of paper that lets him pretend he can for 36 months, and somewhere a finance manager is high-fiving himself because the deal closed in under an hour. My name is Nick, and today we're answering one of the most asked questions in personal finance. Should you buy or lease a car? The answer is more interesting than you think, because the question itself is a trap the industry built specifically to keep you from asking the real one. If you find this kind of breakdown useful, hit subscribe and drop a like. Now let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is that we are not living in a normal car market. The average new vehicle in America right now costs $49,275. $49,275 for a car. That's not a luxury car. That's the average car. The car next to you in traffic, the car your coworker drives, and the average monthly payment on that average car has hit $767. Also a record. More than 1 in 5 new car buyers, 20.3% to be exact, are now signed up for monthly payments over $1,000 every month for something that loses value the second it rolls off the lot. If somebody told you they were spending $1,000 a month on shoes, you'd assume they had a problem. But somehow when it's a car, we just nod and say, yeah, transportation is expensive. This is the environment you walk into when you decide it's time for a new vehicle. The moment you walk through those dealership doors, you become the prize in a game where every other player has been training for years, and you're showing up with a YouTube video and some vibes. The finance manager slides a calculator across the desk with 2 numbers circled in pen. One says $612 a month, the other says $767 a month. He looks at you like he's just done you a favor. And in that moment, your brain processes $612 as a discount. The smart move. The problem is, you're not actually comparing the same thing. You're comparing 2 completely different financial products that just happen to both involve the same car, and the dealership has every incentive to keep you focused on those 2 monthly numbers and absolutely nothing else. Let's start with leasing because that's where most of the confusion lives. When you lease, you're essentially paying for the chunk of value the car loses while it sits in your driveway. You're not paying for the car, you're renting the depreciation. Imagine going to a hotel and instead of paying for the room, you paid for how much the carpet wore down while you were walking on it. That's leasing. If a $45,000 car is going to be worth $26,000 in 3 years, you're paying for that $19,000 difference plus a financing charge they call the money factor, plus taxes, plus a fee for opening the lease, plus another fee for closing the lease. And spoiler alert, every one of those fees is negotiable in theory and somehow never negotiated in practice. The lease payment ends up around $613 a month, the current national average. You drive off the lot with a smile. 3 years later, you hand back the keys. You've spent $24,000 on a car you do not own and now have to replace. No equity, no trade-in value, just a memory and some receipts. The dealership takes that car, slaps a certified pre-owned sticker on it, and sells it to your neighbor for 30 grand. The cycle starts over. Welcome to the most expensive subscription service in America. Now, I know the lease defenders are already typing furiously in the comments, and look, I get it. I'm not trying to make you feel bad about your lease. They'll say, Nick, leasing is great because you always have a new car under warranty. That's true. Genuinely true. But here's what they're not factoring in. The real average lease payment is not the $299 you see on the billboard. That figure requires you to put $3,999 down at signing on, say, a 2026 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. Amortize that down payment across 36 months, and your real monthly cost is closer to $410. Think about your buddy Dave, who keeps telling you he got an amazing deal at $299 a month. Dave forgot about the $4,000 he wrote a check for at signing. Dave does not actually know what his lease costs. Dave is part of the problem. And then there's the mileage trap, which is genuinely my favorite part of the whole leasing scam. Most leases come with a 12,000 mile per year limit. The average American drives about 13,500 miles per year. So even being completely average, you're going over. When you go over, you pay between 15 and 30 cents per mile, depending on the brand. Drive a luxury car 18,000 miles a year on a 12,000 mile lease, and you owe an extra $1,500 just for the mileage. That's before they inspect the car and decide that ding on the bumper is going to cost you $400. The windshield chip is another $300, and the tires you wore down doing nothing but driving on them like a regular human being are another $600. You return the keys thinking you're free. And 3 weeks later, a $2,200 bill shows up in the mail like a horror movie sequel nobody asked for. Okay, so leasing has hidden costs. That must mean buying is the obvious winner. Now here's where it gets really stupid. Because what they want you to think is that buying is the safe, traditional choice, the thing your dad did, the thing that builds equity. In 1995, that was true. In 2026, the way most Americans are buying cars is functionally the same as leasing, just with worse paperwork. The average new car loan is now 68.94 months, almost 6 years. Around 20% are 84 months or longer, 7 years of payments on a single car. Let me put that in perspective. A 7-year car loan is longer than the average American marriage. You will be making payments on this car after the relationship you started while owning it has ended, and you'll still owe money on it when the next one begins. There is something deeply broken about a financial product that outlives the relationships it witnesses. Let me show you what this looks like in real numbers. You finance that $45,000 car, 72-month loan at 6.37%, the average new car interest rate. Your monthly payment is $767, manageable, right? Over the life of the loan, you pay $55,246 total, $10,000 in interest. That's not the car. That's the price you pay for being allowed to pay for the car. You essentially bought it twice, except the second time you didn't get a car. You got a promise that the bank would let you keep the first one. And here's the part that should make you spit out your coffee. In the first 3 years of that loan, you pay almost $7,700 in interest. Meanwhile, the car itself is dropping in value at a rate that would make a falling piano look like a slow elevator. Most cars lose 20 to 25% in the first year. By year 3, you're looking at 40% depreciation on average. So you've paid $7,700 in interest, paid down some principal, and the car is worth about $27,000. This is where the term underwater comes from. You owe more on the loan than the car is worth. And right now in 2026, this is happening to almost 1 in 3 Americans who try to trade in their car. 29% of trade-ins are underwater, and the average amount they're underwater is $7,214, all-time record. Picture your buddy Mike, the guy who bought the new Silverado 2 years ago. Mike walks into the dealership thinking he's about to upgrade. The salesman looks at his trade-in, looks at his loan balance, and tells Mike he needs to bring in a check for $7,200 just to walk away from the truck. Mike's face does the thing. The thing where he realizes he's not getting out. He's just deciding which trap to be in. So Mike does what most people do. He rolls that $7,200 into his next loan. Now he's financing $52,000 on a $45,000 truck. The hole gets deeper. The next loan goes to 84 months because the only way to make it fit is to stretch it further. Mike just signed up for 7 more years of paying for a vehicle that's already lost money he hasn't paid back yet. He's now driving in debt to himself. I want to pause for a second because I know we're deep in the numbers and your brain is starting to slide. This isn't really about saving a few $100s a month. This is about whether you'll be able to retire on time, whether you'll be the family member who actually has a Christmas budget instead of stressing about it every December, whether your kid can go to the college they want without taking on debt that follows them for 20 years. The car payment isn't just a car payment. It's the difference between having options in your life and not having them. The stakes are not, Nick told me to drive a boring car. The stakes are your entire financial trajectory. Okay, buying isn't the obvious win either. In 2026, the way most people buy cars is functionally the same as leasing. You make payments forever, you never own equity, and you trade out before the loan is paid off. The only difference is you're doing it less efficiently. So let me re-anchor the real question. The real question isn't buying versus leasing. The real question is, how do you put yourself in a position where car is the smallest possible drag on your wealth? The car, in financial terms, is the enemy. It's a depreciating asset that demands monthly tribute. The goal is to feed it as little as possible while still getting where you need to go. Now, here's where I'll defend leasing for a second, because there are 3 specific scenarios where it's actually the right call. 1, you're a business owner using the car for work, and the tax write-off on lease payments beats the depreciation deductions you'd get from owning. Talk to your accountant. He'll be thrilled you're asking actual questions instead of bringing him a shoebox of receipts in March. 2, you're leasing a luxury car that depreciates like it was launched off a cliff. A BMW 7 Series loses about 73% of its value over 5 years. If you absolutely must drive one of these, leasing caps your exposure. The dealership eats the depreciation instead of you. 3, you genuinely want a new car every 3 years no matter what, and you've made peace with the fact that this is a lifestyle choice, not a financial one. Buying is the better mathematical choice in basically every other scenario, but, and this is critical, only if you actually buy correctly, because there's a massive difference between buying a brand new $49,000 car on an 84-month loan and buying a 3-year-old version of that same car on a 48-month loan. One is wealth destruction. The other is the closest thing to a smart car decision that exists in 2026. Here's the play. You buy a 2 or 3-year-old version of the car you actually want. Someone else has already absorbed the worst of the depreciation cliff, that $45,000 new car. You can buy the 2023 version for around $27,000 right now. Same car, same features, same warranty in many cases, especially if you go certified pre-owned. Whoever bought it new has already eaten about $18,000 in depreciation for you. They paid for the privilege of removing the new car smell. Think about that. There is a person out there who paid $18,000 for an air freshener, and you can be the person who didn't. You financed that $27,000 car on a 48-month loan. Your payment is around $665 a month, which is less than the new car payment, less than the lease payment, and you actually own the car at the end of 4 years. Then this is the critical part. You keep it 3 more years, 5 more years, as long as it runs reliably. Every month after that loan is paid off is a month you're keeping $700, $800, $900 in your pocket instead of handing it to a dealership. That's money that buys you time, which is the only thing actually worth buying. I'll be honest, I drove a 2014 Honda Accord for 9 years, paid it off in 3, spent 6 years with no car payment. The car wasn't sexy. Nobody was Instagramming pictures of it. But the money I wasn't spending for those 6 years was the money I used to do basically every other thing I wanted to do. That's the trade nobody at the dealership tells you about, because that's the trade that ends their entire business model. Let me run the numbers on 3 different paths over 9 years. Path 1, you lease continuously 3 back-to-back leases at $613 a month plus drive-off costs each time, plus disposition fees, plus a couple thousand in mileage and wear charges. Total spent about $77,000. What do you own? Nothing. You hand back the carpet having paid for every square inch of how much it wore down. Path 2, you buy that $45,000 new car, finance it for 72 months, then keep it 3 more years. Total spent about $61,000. You own a car worth about $13,000 plus 3 years of 0 car payments to pad your savings. Path 3, You buy a 3-year-old used car for $27,000, finance it for 48 months, keep it 5 more years. Total spent about $40,000. You own a car worth maybe $8,000 plus 5 years of zero car payments. That's potentially $40,000 of cash flow you could have invested. The gap between path 1 and path 3 is roughly $37,000 in direct cost. Once you factor in what that monthly payment money could have done if invested at modest returns, the real wealth gap is around $70,000 over a decade. The only difference between them is one decision made one time sitting in front of one finance manager, ignoring the monthly payment number on the calculator. That's the part the industry never wants you to see. Their entire revenue model depends on you making the wrong choice over and over again. The dealer doesn't make money when you buy a used car and keep it for 10 years. The dealer makes money when you sign a new loan every 3 to 4 years for the rest of your life. Lenders, manufacturers, captive financing companies, dealer finance offices, they're all aligned around one outcome: keeping you on the payment treadmill forever. The only person at the dealership who isn't on that team is you. You walked in alone. Everyone else is wearing the same jersey. So when someone asks you the question, buying or leasing, what's actually the better choice? The honest answer is that the question itself is a trap. It's like being asked whether you'd rather get punched in the left arm or the right arm. The real answer is, can we please just stop doing the punching? The better choice is whichever path lets you spend the smallest possible portion of your income on transportation, and that almost always means buying used and keeping the car well past the point where the industry wants you to upgrade. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but Nick, I work hard. I deserve a nice car. I'm not driving some 2018 Camry for the rest of my life like an accountant in a Vincent Price movie. Look, I get it. I'm not telling you to never enjoy a car. I'm telling you to be honest about what enjoying a car actually costs. If you make $60,000 a year and you're spending $900 a month on a vehicle, you're not enjoying a car. You're being slowly digested by one. The car is enjoying you. The market right now is not your friend. New car prices are still rising. Tariffs are pushing prices up another 4 to 8% through the end of 2026. Repossessions are at the highest level since 2009. Subprime delinquencies just hit their highest point in 32 years. This is not a market that rewards optimism. It rewards skepticism. So buy used, keep it long, pay it off. Skip the lease unless one of those 3 specific scenarios applies. And whenever a finance manager slides a calculator across the desk with 2 circled numbers on it, remember those numbers were not put there for your benefit. They were put there for his commission. The next time you pull up next to that 32-year-old in the BMW eating the gas station hot dog, don't envy him. He's not rich. He's just 3 years away from owing the bank $7,000 to get rid of a car he's already tired of. The truly rich move in 2026 is the one nobody can see because it's parked in a driveway, paid off, and has been quietly making its owner wealthier every month for the last 4 years just by existing. That's the real answer to buying versus leasing. The better choice is the one you can stop making. If this video helped, drop a like, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.